right, Jamie.
Hey.
So I was thinking on the way here, I wanted to ask you a bunch of stuff. So basically, you and I have known each other for 4 years, and I think about
5.
5 years now. Okay,
Yeah.
well, it's been a while now.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's
Actually,
so much.
this is going into our 6th year, dude.
6th year?
Because you were 3 years Scholar's Edge, and then 2 years running your franchise, and then this is your 3rd year running your franchise.
Oh my goodness, time flies by.
6 years. Well, the days go by slowly, the years go by quickly.
That's true, but I haven't really gotten to know you that much until the last 3 years, because when I was at Scholar's Edge, I barely saw you. It was more with Galen, I think.
Yeah.
But along the way, this past few years, I've gotten to know you more and more and more. And you've told me your story, but I really want to dive into it a little bit more, just because I feel like there's so much to uncover. Because I see you right now, and let's be honest, like right now, to me, you're successful. You have a farm.
Yeah.
You have your Superior Farms business going on. You have Scholar's Edge. We both share Wilson Pro Painting. You have a beautiful family, three kids.
3 kids. And the farm is actually mostly run by Erin,
Right.
my wife. I provide her with advice, and obviously it's our, at the end of the day, it's our money. So there is some stress that comes with that and some decision making, but we've sort of engineered the farm in the last few years where Erin mostly runs it, and she's got good people. I have friends that we can delegate things for.
Yeah, I'd imagine there's like the good and the bad stuff, but at the same time, you're like, at least from my perspective, you're very well positioned. You live a very thriving life, and I want to know how you got here. You know, as a 28-year-old with a lot of ambition, and I still feel like I have so much to accomplish still. And you probably get a little bit of that sense too, even though you're almost 50. But I just want to know what got you to that point. So if you don't mind, like, can you tell us more about how it all got started, and take us back to your early teens?
Well, I mean, I think for me, it goes back before getting into my real working life. It ties into playing sports. I was heavily involved in playing hockey. I mean, that was a huge passion of mine, as well as track and field.
Sorry, where were you born?
I was born in Calgary.
And I thought you were from the States.
No, I was born in Calgary, and then my parents were English immigrants. They moved from Hull in northern England all the way to St. Albert.
Right.
My dad got a job with Alberta Government Telephones, AGT, and initially they immigrated to St. Albert. My dad actually was transferred almost immediately. They bought a house in St. Albert and had got a transfer to Calgary. And then my mother ended up moving, 3 hours south or 3.5 hours south to Calgary. And then that's where I was born.
Okay.
And then a few other moves in Alberta. My parents eventually came out and holidayed on Vancouver Island, decided that this was a beautiful place. And then they moved. My dad transferred with Alberta Government Telephones to BC Tel. Growing up as a young kid in Lanceville, Nanaimo, my mother kept me busy, and I look back and I'm super grateful for that. Like, she had me in Boy Scouts, Cubs. I was playing, not only was I playing on a hockey team, but I was doing power skating, and then my mom even put me in figure skating. So I had 3 different things that I was doing with respect to skating.
And were you an only child, or?
No, I've got a brother.
You got a brother.
He's 13 months younger.
Yeah.
We're very different.
Yeah, it's kind of like Frank and I.
Yeah, we would fight like cats and dogs, just because I was very competitive growing up.
Right.
And my brother was not nearly as competitive.
So why is it that you were just more competitive than him? Is it, did you feel like, was it something that happened to you, or did it just your dad's side that's kind of instilled?
No, I just think that I was just like, it was just how I was born, like just engineered that way, focused. Huh. And my mom actually, she told me the story the other day that I ended up not growing out of this and not being as organized, but I would, like, when I got a new toy and I had different figurines for this toy, I would put them all back perfectly. And my room was spotless. And it was just something that my mom always talks about. Now, she said, as I got older, I developed less care.
Yeah.
But I was, super highly organized. I love an organized office. It's not my office is not always organized, but I do love an organized office, and I take great satisfaction in organizing my office and having it be clean. When I was young, I was in like track and field, super competitive. I was actually a very good track athlete, but I loved it and I hated it at the same time, because I would get so nervous for my events. It would just eat at me.
Right.
And, but I enjoyed being good at it.
Right.
And when I was in grade 10, well, actually I should go back in my late elementary school years and early high school, I had a paper route, and I actually credit that to a lot of my interest in business later on. I had to go and solicit new clients. If I got a new client, it meant that I got a bigger paycheck.
Right.
And the paper route actually helped me earn money for things I wanted. And that's the other thing that I would say that helped me, is that my parents, they were super supportive parents. They put me in all these things and wanted to see me find success, and they supported my passions, but they wouldn't give me things. So my dad,
that's key,
would, I'd remember, like, actually fast forward to living on my own, my dad shows up in his Telus truck and, or van. And I was kind of down on my luck a little bit. Like, it was just like, you just move out of the house and you have to pay for your own food. You have to pay your rent.
Right.
And he said to me, I walked up to his van, and I think there was a moment for him where he was like proud that I had moved out, but I think that he was sad at the same time. Right. And he said, hey, do you want these eggs? He had just gone to this local farm, actually the farm that we now own. And he got a dozen eggs. He had 2 dozen eggs.
Wait, so when so this farm that you currently own, you used to visit when you were
100%.
No, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I grew up playing on this farm. Okay. So my buddy Jason, we were like both competitive.
Right.
And I'll get to that in a second. Okay. But my dad said, "Do you want these farm eggs?" And I'm like, I was starving. He didn't know this, but I had no food at the time. I had a little bit of money. He gave me here, go get your groceries. But those eggs, my dad had actually a piece of graph paper. That's how he did things. Right. And he kept a tally when I started running my business of everything that I owed him. If I bought, he helped me. To his credit, he helped me. He helped me get a car. He helped me get a pressure washer. He helped me get these things. But when I did get the money to pay him back, I sat down and I looked at this spreadsheet, and he had $2 for a dozen eggs written on the spreadsheet. And I just sat there and I'm like, Dad, like, really?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Thanks for the eggs, right? But that goes to what he was from England. I mean, he held me accountable to paying for my own stuff. And I think that created a drive to like want to work.
100%. And I bet a lot of people listening to this be like, it's his dad. Why would he do that? But they don't get it. Like, that's such a useful skill. And yeah. And I wish my dad was more like, he did something like that. He never kept like a tab. But just like you said, even when my brother and I were growing up, he's like, I'm here to support you. I'm giving you all the essentials. I'm going to pay for your roof, for your food, your education. Anything outside of those 3 things is a luxury. You need to earn it. So it's a little bit of what, like the same kind of like, instill values that you got. So I can relate to that. But I wanted to ask you, like, so when you were younger, of course, it sounds you're an athlete. You came from a good family. Were you ambitious though? And like, did you see yourself in the future? Did you ever visualize yourself in the future, what you wanted to do? Like,
I don't think I knew that I was a hard worker. I just didn't, and I didn't know that I necessarily wanted to get into business. Mm-hmm. But when I thought about running a business, I didn't know where to start.
Right.
And so when I graduated high school, I went to a school out in Saskatchewan called Notre Dame in Saskatchewan. It's a hockey boarding school in the middle of Saskatchewan, founded by Athol Murray. And then I went out there, And I learned a ton. It was tough. Like, you're in the middle of cold Saskatchewan,
Right.
-40. And
Get me out of there.
It was crazy.
No.
But I mean, it was like, you just gained so much character. Like, I went there for hockey, but I left with so much more than the opportunity to play hockey there. I think that the hard knock, cold living in Saskatchewan would just help shaped me.
100%.
And also too, living in dorms as a young individual was helpful as well, because it's a small little microcosm, if you will, of the world, and you're now having to navigate without your parents.
That's right.
How to live in dorms.
Yeah.
So I gained that, and it was a great education. I ended up coming out of that and just still playing hockey, working jobs. And I remember when I played junior hockey, I ended up finding 3 jobs. And everyone on the team was like, oh, they couldn't find a job. And the coach actually came into the room and he said, I just found out, Jamie, he says in the room, he's like, Jamie, how many jobs do you have? I said, well, I got 3. I was working at Walmart. I was working at this place called, what was it? Like a hardware store, home hardware store. And I forget the other one that I was doing. But anyways, I had these 3 jobs.
So why'd you get 3 jobs?
I wanted to earn money. Like, that was the thing. I wanted to earn money, but it was like leveraging my time for money. Anyways, I ended up, getting, the coach said, I don't want any of you guys in this team to ever complain that there's no work out there, because Jamie got 3 jobs.
Yep.
And then after a few years of just working jobs, I worked at a job, Mid-Island Fence. Mm-hmm. And actually I remember working there and becoming quite frustrated because I actually got my friends jobs there because my friends were looking for work. And here they were earning the same amount of money as I was, even though I was like way more skilled than them, harder working than them. I never called in sick.
Right.
I wanted my paycheck. And then somebody asked me, they said, it was a friend of my aunt and uncle's. And I remember his name, Rudy. And he said, would you build a fence for us? And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I'll build a fence.
Did you know how to do that?
I was working at Mid-Island Fence, so I knew, but I was kind of a novice.
Right.
And I remember giving him a price. I said, yeah, I think I priced it out. I thought, yeah, I can do this for $800.
Yeah.
By the end of the job, the material and everything I needed for the job cost me $800. But the fence looked great.
Yeah.
The fence looked great. I built this fence and I was super proud of myself. And then that was when I remember looking up an ad in the newspaper to run a student painting company. And that's where that began.
Oh, so it happened once you've completed that job, you decided, okay, well, this is not for me. I got to look for other things. Or you just came across?
I just came across it.
You just came across it. Got it.
Yeah, I came
by
across
accident.
it. Yeah. And then just following through on that.
What piqued your interest though? Why student painting?
I just saw, I'm like, well, I'm not, it was like, I think it was end of February.
Had any of your friends had done it before? Or you're like, first time you ever come across this?
I called the ad in the newspaper, called the toll-free number, went to a meeting and was instantly excited. And for me, it was like, oh, geez, like here, I don't know how to go about it properly. I just did this one fence job and lost money. So this is like a good like opportunity for me. And my dad, who was, very skeptical man, I come home and he's
old school.
He says, son, I don't want to rain on your parade, but you got to be careful for things like that.
Yeah.
And I ended up being so upset with him that he would doubt me. And I thought, I'm going to prove him wrong.
Ooh, this is good.
And so then I remember actually walking up the stairs, staring at the ceiling and thinking, I'm going to remember this moment and I'm going to prove him wrong. And then later on in life, he said, we were fishing one time. He's like, you know how I got you to do things? I'm like, how? He says, I used to just tell you that you couldn't do it. And
that's good.
And I'm like, Dad.
That's good.
That's what he'd say to me.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And that's, I want to use that as an example because, there's a lot of drivers out there, like what drives people. And it's not the same thing when somebody tells you, I believe in you. You're going to do great. I know you have everything you got. And to me, and it sounds like it's the same thing for you, goes through one ear, comes out the other one. But if somebody says, you're not going to make it, you can't do it. Honestly, you're going to fail. And I'm going to tell you, I told you so. Changes everything. And it just wants, you want to rip their throats out, not physically, but you know the idea, which is awesome because I use that too. And
on that note, I will actually tell people that I'm working with that I'm worried about where you're going.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't ignite them, then nothing's going to ignite them.
Nothing else will.
That's kind of my last resort. And if I get there, it's and that doesn't push the needle, then I will find a way to end that working relationship. It's just, if someone doubts you and you can't, pull up your socks and make it happen, then
you don't want it as bad.
100%.
But and after, when you go through your life, because you remember this like clear as day, right? You remember those words, exactly what your parents say. And I don't know if you were familiarized with Patrick Bet-David. He wrote a book called Choose Your Enemies Wisely. And it's all about these conversations that you have along the way that trigger you and that you utilize in your repertoire, in your ammo, when you're like, feel like you're not where you should be. You kind of replay those conversations like, I told you it's not going to happen. And you exaggerate them on purpose to use them as fuel to kickstart an action.
Right.
And so I love that because that's the perfect example. And I use that the same thing.
I think that I always say this in my speech at the end of franchise training, or operator training. I always tell people that I never ever looked at, I never asked the question, oh, how am I going to do this? Because if you ask yourself how and you create doubt, it just sort of creates a limiting belief, and then therefore it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're not going to make it happen.
That's right.
I didn't know, for example, how I was going to run the business. There's been times where I haven't had money to do things, or to make a business thing happen, or make a property purchase happen. But then I look at it and I'm like, it doesn't become how can I afford to do this? How can I afford not to do this? And that mind shift, I think, is super important. And
it's all about perspective.
I've run into that. If I believe that something is going to benefit me and benefit like other people, if I see like a business deal that I know it's going to just make things better, an opportunity, even if I'm like, ooh, how am I going to, like, it hurts in the gut, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I'm going to try to make it happen. And I believe that anxiety also fuels me. It makes me, it's no different when my kids were born, right? All of a sudden, when my kids were born, I'll never forget, with each child, all of a sudden it's like, ooh, like I need to make sure that I am a great example and that I provide for this human.
That's right.
And it's kind of like, you don't know that you have another level until those things happen. And it's just like, all of a sudden I've got another level.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with playing sports. When I played hockey, you'd play your entire regular season and then you'd get to the playoffs. And if you lost out, you were done. And I remember playing in playoffs going, I have another level. And I don't know where that other level, why was that other level not there before? Well, all of a sudden the stakes got higher. The stress became more. And the alternative, like the losing, the cost of losing became greater. And so therefore you found that next level.
Yeah.
And I try to tie that in to business and life.
Yeah. Pain drives change. And it's funny because there's two ways to go about things when you're faced into a stressful situation, and you're taking on the right one. Cause everybody feels the same thing. I get nervous. I get anxious. I get same as everybody else in difficult situations. But it sounds like you acknowledge those feelings, but still, you still face them. You still move forward. And some people are like, no, I don't like this. I wanna go away. And I think when you were an athlete, you discovered something in you that, like you said, there's another level that you can acquire. I just came back from an event in Arizona, and I saw David Goggins, the epitome of discipline, right? It's ex-Navy SEAL, and he talks about this 40% rule. When the body, mind tells you you're maxed out, you've given in your all, you're only at 40% capacity. There's so much more to uncover, but people, once things get really uncomfortable, that's when they stop.
I see it with young athletes too, just in coaching young kids hockey. every kid, every human has a certain level of pain threshold and some can push through it, but very few. I remember just being like I said, a track athlete and doing cross country and running and being at the point of near exhaustion and then finding that second wind and pushing through that. And it's a real thing, but some people they just give in. Like they're just like, no, I'm not pushing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And that's when you learn the most about yourself, right? When you really understand who you are and what you're capable of, but you won't know until you go through those hard times.
100%.
But I wanted to go back and, just fast forward. You're now in the painting business. You did this with another student painting company. What was the biggest risk in business you think you have taken?
The biggest risk, I think I worked with that initial student painting company. It was Student Works Painting for 10 years. And when I left and I actually moved to Washington State and I set up shop. That was the biggest risk because I was doing quite well, like financially. And looking back, I guaranteed I didn't appreciate. I was young, I was late 20s, that how well that I was actually doing. And I think that's normal. People go through that, but I had something. I felt that I needed something else. I needed to do it for myself. So I ended up moving down there and really cutting my income a lot. And now it was all on me. And it became even more lonely when I made that decision.
But what'd you do though? You were comfortable. You've obviously, when you were younger, you're used to moving around all the time. You probably want to just stay in one place, but then another opportunity shows up. It's going to cut your income by half. Why would you move?
Well, I had a bit of a travel bug for sure.
Oh.
I think that was a part of it.
Okay.
I moved to Seattle, and I always growing up on Vancouver Island, I always romanticized with the idea of Seattle and their baseball team and Ken Griffey Jr.
Right.
and Edgar Martinez. I grew up watching them on TV. So that was, and then there was movies, Sleepless in Seattle and things like that that you watched growing up.
Right.
And then was also a big grunge fan, like the Foo Fighters and Nirvana, Alice in Chains, all these bands that came out of Seattle. So I romanticized with the idea of living down there.
Right.
And saw it as an opportunity for change and moved to Seattle and started my life there as officially being on my own, not working underneath somebody. I was there for, 7.5, 8 years, and then decided to keep the business going down there. But just through having young kids and wanting to get back to Canada, closer to family, we moved back to Calgary, my wife and I. And then after 3 years in Calgary, that was when we fell into the opportunity to buy the farm. That was just by fluke.
And sorry, before we get into that part, at what point during your experience with the student painting industry, you're like, you know what, this is something I want to do forever?
Forever? That would have been when I made the decision to move down to Washington.
Okay. Because
at the end of the day, I'd flirted with getting my MBA. I had, taken the GMAT. I had books on, I had different applications going to go to various places, somewhere in Europe. And I just decided that, I knew I had to make a decision then. Is this what I want to do? Mm-hmm. And I decided this is what I wanted to do. I was 30. And then that was when I moved down to Seattle.
Okay. You were confident that I know the game. I know the industry. I feel like I can do it better.
Yeah. I wasn't, I was a bit oblivious, I would say, when it came to the market in the US.
Right.
It's a different market. For student painting, the students are on a quarter system, was something that I didn't fully research, which is quite significant because the students would have less time in the summer to run their business. And then the move back to Alberta, because it was a place that I knew with the wife. And now because I had responsibilities, I had 3 kids. I'm like, I need to make life happen.
Right.
And then and then when we moved back to Alberta, I'll never forget being at home with my wife, and we were there for we'd only been in Alberta. I was like beginning of February.
Why'd you move to Alberta from Washington?
Because I knew the market. That was where I had moved from. to move down to Seattle.
I see.
So I lived in Alberta for 8 years. I went to university,
Yeah.
Augustana University out there. I got a Bachelor of Arts. My major was economics. And I just felt comfortable in the market. And I had a lot of friends there. I mentioned that I went to high school at Notre Dame in Saskatchewan.
That's right.
Well, the economy in Calgary was actually doing quite well at the time. And therefore, a lot of young people that I went to school with, that I graduated with, moved to Calgary. So I had a really good friend network there. I just felt, not that I was I'm someone that needed to be around people. I actually was a little bit of a loner and a self-proclaimed loner. I enjoyed my alone time as well. But I just knew that if I wanted to hang out with a friend or
you were alone,
whatever,
but you weren't lonely.
100%.
Yeah.
So,
and along the way, did you have mentors, or is that something that just it's now popular nowadays, or did you have somebody that would mentor you along the way?
Yeah.
Somebody that would you talk to and help you with the business?
Well, in the student painting side, I mean, I worked with Student Works Painting, and Andrew Britnell was the owner of Student Works, and he was someone who I really looked up to. He was a phenomenal business person. He liked to keep himself fit and in shape, and just he was a good role model. And then after that, when I moved to the States, I was connected with some other people. One person in the industry, Steve Acorn. And so I had a coach that helped me. And as I've gone through life, I've really put a lot of importance on having someone that you can talk to 100%. That's a coach, that's a good leader. And then it's not lost on me that with what I do, that in anything, whether it's Scholar's Edge or Wilson Pro Painting, that I'm a mentor. And I have to set a good example. And when I'm setting that good example, I feel better about myself.
Yeah. Because you're helping yourself also by helping them.
It's an interesting
in a way.
thing. Yes.
It's like when you talk about when you and I have discussions and talk about the issues, we kind of hear ourselves and we're like, oh, it's like almost therapeutic. It's like,
it's like, your health and being, being a beacon of health and for example, I suffer from, some medical stuff. Like I've got high blood pressure. So I take a pill every day called ibuprofen. And I take another pill called lansoprazole, which is for heartburn every single day. Right. And recently in the last year, we had within the business, we had a situation where all of a sudden, it was gut check time. Guys, we're not drinking alcohol anymore. Yeah. I'm not drinking alcohol. Yeah. And I actually had to make a really difficult decision. I had to suspend, fire someone within the company. Mm-hmm. But I loved this person. Like, this person is someone who I've mentored and I see so much promise in. And then I said, to support you, I'm not going to drink any more alcohol either. And so I made this decision, and I remember putting my hand up, and all of the people that are really close to me in business all said, yeah, I'm not drinking either. And like, okay, we're not drinking for a year. And then what ended up happening is everyone left the room, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm not having another beer for a whole year.
I need it.
But then since I've made this decision, I don't miss it. Yeah. And so here I am. Guess what? I don't get heartburn as much anymore. Yeah. So sometimes I forget to take my medication because I'm not triggered. With heartburn triggers me to take oh shoot, I haven't taken my medication today. I better go take my medication.
That's crazy.
And so now I don't get heartburn nearly as much because I'm not drinking, and because alcohol would be a big cause of the heartburn. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So again, here we are being beacons of health to help be examples, but then we're helping ourselves.
That's right. That's right. And so I wanted to ask you, obviously you build a great company. In Scholar's Edge, we're building Wilson Pro Painting. You're now, obviously we're not in Alberta anymore. We're in BC. Yep. And the past 3 years, I'd say you've scaled, or you and the team has scaled Scholar's Edge to, what is it now, 10 million?
Yeah, we're likely going to hit 10 million this year. Yeah, forever we bounced around $1 million to $1.5 million. Yeah, now we're close.
So if anybody knows anything about team building, it's probably you.
Yeah.
What's something that you can advise on, like how do you build a team? How do you lead by example?
Well, first of all, I think culture is like so important. I remember that there was one year in the States that I was trying to I was planning out my pro forma, and I was looking at how much money I put into like team building, culture. And I actually that year, I was like, I'm going to cut back. And what I learned is that year going into the next year, I saw it go down. And when you have momentum, riding that momentum and pushing that momentum, that's easy. Like that's where it's fun. But when you don't have that momentum and you're trying to get things going, that's when it's hard. And I made the mistake that year of taking away from my culture budget, and it hurt financially, and it took years to like get it back. So now I make sure that that's a big part of what we do. I rarely ever complain about what goes into building a team, the culture side of it. And that, I think, is the number one thing that's helped us grow.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of pressure in being the business owner and the entrepreneur, because you don't have anybody to fall back to. No. Like everybody's just looking to you. And if you don't bring in the energy, the company culture, and you're like repeatedly doing, that culture to what you're trying to achieve, people are watching.
Yep.
And so what happens when you're leading and you yourself is unmotivated? How do you handle that?
I think if you're unmotivated, then you need rest, right? And I try to coach people that in the district, the executives and other people, that if you find that you're not able to motivate people in the room, or you're not wanting to motivate, you need to find a way to like get some rest and get some rest now. Mm-hmm. And you need to recharge and have that be conscious rest.
Right.
And for me, it's easy. I do get pulled away now with kids. So I have to get, their various activities. That gives me my time to recharge. It doesn't necessarily mean that I need to like go lay on a beach in a nice climate somewhere.
Yeah.
It just means I just need to get my head away from the business and focus in on things that, like, people that I love, my kids, my family, my wife.
100%. And ever since you made that pact with no drinking, going to the gym, how have you found your energy levels, your clarity? Like, do you feel like something's changed?
You feel way sharper. You never wake up with a bit of a fog. Not that I really drank a ton before. Mm-hmm. Like, it was more recreational, right. Having a beer. Never ever in my life would I ever drink to get drunk.
Right.
And that was actually something that was instilled within me from my parents, and also from going to a Catholic school.
I see.
And there was some biblical things around that where I did commit myself to getting baptized into God when I was at Notre Dame. And I remember in my teaching that Jesus never drank to get drunk, but he drank to be sociable. Mm-hmm. So in my life, I always said, did I get drunk? Yeah, it happened, because you're having a sociable meeting with someone and you accidentally have one too many, and you recognize that. But I never drank purposefully, because I'm just going
to harm your body.
Harm my body,
100%.
Right? But now I do feel that, yeah, I'm definitely sharper in just every day and decision making, financial decisions and mistakes, forgetting things. I don't forget things as much, right?
That's right. And I think also one thing to kind of point out is the fact that now that you're putting extra emphasis in taking care of yourself, physically, mentally, spiritually, mm-hmm. It also helps you not burn out as quickly. Mm-hmm. And so when we're talking about rest, when we're stressed out, there's rest that we can just, go to sleep early at night and then wake up refreshed. Mm-hmm. But then there's burnout, and that's a different story, especially if you're not taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. With the high pressures of running a business, having constant problems, you fired somebody quit, all these things, and on top of that, you're not taking care of yourself. Then you reach those burnout levels, and that is really hard to recover from, because that's internal.
Oh, it's
impossible. So yeah, like I agree with you. Like, you have to take care of yourself. right? Um, and so what are your daily practices to kind of keep you, you know, on edge, keep you motivated, to keep you not lose the grip of what you're trying to accomplish? What do you do every day? What's like something that...
Well, one of the things that I love is I do start off, I'm pretty selfish in the morning with my time. I used to be like, okay, get up at, this hour and,
I'm
and
guilty of
focus
that
on,
too.
and focus on getting, being at the office at 7, or I used to set up my appointments for early.
Yeah.
I've stopped doing that. And one of the favorite thing of my day is actually having coffee with my wife in the morning. So, we get up together, we make the bed, and then I say, hey, is it coffee time? And we'll go and have a coffee together, and we'll just talk about life, you know, and that coffee is sometimes 15 minutes. Sometimes it's half an hour, but it's actually the most favorite time of my day. And I tell my wife that, like, that's a fun part of the day. Cause usually when you get to the end of the day, you're tired.
Yeah.
100%. So I do that. And then I do like to say good morning to the kids, get ready, and then I head to the office. As far as a workout is concerned, I do like to get that in mostly in the afternoon at the end of the day, get my time in at work. And towards the end of the workday, that's when I would do, get a workout in. And I do have kids that are in activities, so I do like to watch them. I don't get to always watch them. Sometimes I do find myself, nothing wrong with it. There are times where I got to work till 9 at night. There's things I got to get done, right? That happens. So as a business owner and entrepreneur, there are times where I'll work like long hours because it's just flowing, it's working,
right,
and it's happening. So that part is easy. But there also is what I love about this is that I can take a whole day and go to a hockey tournament with my kids.
Yeah.
And that to me that's amazing to be able to do that and spend that time with them. And because that time's going to end soon, right?
Absolutely.
So they're getting older. They're going to be leaving home.
I love the fact that you're able to still dedicate the time to your family and put that as priority, because as it should be. And that's something that I was struggling with like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where I was like, you know what, I got to be successful no matter what. And I need to spend every second of the day like psycho mode. Like there's no switch off like in my brain. And then I started to realize as time goes by that at what cost? Like, yes, you can get there faster, but then you look back and where's your relationships with your family, your friends? And there's sacrifices you can make, but at the same time, talk about those 15 minutes at the beginning of the day. Like it doesn't hurt you. You still dedicate your present, and you do what you have to do while keeping those things alive.
I will say though that when I was younger, it was go time. There was a like, and because I could work, I could be like, I didn't have the personal commitments with family. And so I would consider myself a workaholic, but I loved it. And through work, I believe that I grew as a person and as a business person, especially just through the various experiences and challenges and roadblocks and whatever you call it. Like I grew a ton and I loved it. And so I wouldn't change anything. There were some definite long days and definitely stressful moments, but I wouldn't change any of it. It's now so more now as my life has changed because of family that I am focused on them. But it doesn't change that there are days where if all of a sudden there's nothing going on as far as kids' sports or activities, I will work and I don't regret it. Yeah. Because I know that I'm able to be there for my family when they are in their activities and they're doing their things.
I agree 100%. And I wasn't talking really more about, removing your foot off the gas pedal. I meant more like business was everything. And so you start neglecting the most basic stuff with it, which is exercising. Oh yeah. Keeping yourself sharp, going to bed, getting your hours of sleep. But that doesn't change the fact that you're going to go all out in what you need to do to accomplish what you have to do, right? But it's like, it was that I was blinded by, I got to make a bunch of money, right? And I neglected everything else. And then that actually hurt me quite a bit. And I've changed that where I'm like, I can do both. I can dedicate time to myself. It doesn't mean I have to cut the gym. It doesn't mean I have to eat junk food because I don't have time. That's just excuses and lack of organization. But you can do both things and still be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Something I learned along the way. But, I wanted to ask you, if you could go back to your 20-year-old self right now, and let's picture that you bring back all the knowledge, all the experiences, everything that you know now at your 49 years of age, going back to your 20-year-old, would you change anything?
In business or life?
Both.
I think I would have, if I could look back, I would have been a bit more, I had years of doing really well financially, I think, relative to other people at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think and don't get me wrong, I have no regrets as far as I had fun, but I think I would have been a bit more, my younger self should have been more responsible with the money that I earned. Because I think I could have taken that money and I could have created more wealth for myself later had I been a bit more frugal, right? That would be one thing.
Like investments and stuff?
Yeah. Like I think I could have, rather than spending, I could have put more money towards investments. I think that would be one thing that I would have looked back and changed. And I think for me, I loved hockey so much. So I actually played till I was 30. Now, it's kind of like exercising, if you will, with a purpose because you're playing a game. I wish that I found another passion other than hockey in my 30s that would be like a second sports career, so to speak. Because I think that then it's like exercising with a purpose.
Right.
That would have been, I think, and I think that's something that I should do now.
Like throwing darts.
maybe I get into pickleball. I don't know.
Hey, don't talk trash about pickleball. I play every Sunday with Frank, and I think it's so fun.
I think that might be the next thing. I've seen that it's probably the next.
People think it's a joke, but it's actually really, really tiring and fun.
The person that we bought the farm from a family friend who's an entrepreneur, business owner. He retired and he poured all his passion and time into playing pickleball.
Oh, yeah?
And he goes down to Arizona and to tournaments and Canadian championships. And I think he's right now, I think he's over 70. You think he'd be like early 70s, 73, 72, 73. 60. And he actually he wins the over 60 division. He's so good at pickleball.
No way. Yeah. You got to connect with him, ask him to teach you something.
Teach me, yeah.
Yeah, because we got to play all together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of these days. But that's awesome. That's awesome. And I have this one last question. I think it's, I've been thinking about this one. What would you say is the difference between building a business for yourself and building a business to create impact?
Well, I think I spent a lot of years trying to build a business for myself and I never saw it really grow. And now that I am building a business to create impact, I'm watching it grow by itself. And in turn, I'm being rewarded by having a lot more fun with the people that I get to work with, because I see them being super passionate about what they're doing and the lives that they're changing. But also, I just find that as a byproduct of building a business for impact, that I'm actually doing better financially from it as well. Mm-hmm. And that is a really kind of interesting phenomena that I've learned.
One person once told me, you want to go fast, do it yourself. You want to go further, build a team. Mm-hmm. And I think that's exactly what's happening right now.
Yeah.
It's like you build a team of leaders and now they're leading the way.
Yep, 100%. And that's actually, if you read the 5 Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell, the last level of leadership is where you have created leaders that create other leaders. And I believe that that's where we are now. Like there are leaders within that I get to work with every day that I'm coaching them on how to lead other people, and they're just through their experience, and innately they're helping build other leaders underneath them. And that to me is super satisfying to see.
And I can imagine, I mean, I know who you're talking about, and they're great guys. And, but obviously there's hard times, there's tough days.
Yep.
And so how do you go about when your own leaders are not pulling their own weight, they're kind of slacking? How do you handle that? How do you keep them motivated? Is it a constant thing? Like, what's your advice?
I absolutely lose it. No, just joking. I don't think I've ever seen them not be passionate about what they're doing. I feel like they sometimes, like me, naturally, they get tired.
Yeah. And
what I do with them is I give them things to look forward to. For example, in early June, we're doing something as a team.
Yeah.
So I think that that's important, that they actually have something to look forward to, so they enjoy what they're doing. So they look back and go, I know that was hard, but you know what? I really love being around these guys.
Yeah.
And we do things like that. So just to kind of keep things fresh.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's all I got. But that's awesome, Jamie.
Well, thanks for the interview and letting me talk about myself.
No, I knew like all along you had like little nuggets of value that I wanted to pick at, and you know, also because I continue learning from you, and I appreciate you as a business partner, as a friend, and also as a mentor.
Thanks, Julian.
Thank you.